Some people seem to be confused by the stairlift situation, but since I got out of the hospital, I've come home and purchased and installed a brand new stairlift. That guy comes up and down almost silently and should run for several years. So there you are. Welcome to ARW. I'm Harold, and as you can see, the stairlift's in great condition, brand new, and it's working. And what we're going to do today is I picked up a whole bunch of aluminum shell casings at the range. We're going to melt those down, and we're going to make a usable piece of metal out of them. I didn't do it before because I didn't have a suitable crucible, but I bought a little crucible, and I was told you've got to season that crucible before you use it. So I looked on the internet, and there was only about 1 million different ways to do it, so I combined a whole bunch of them and I seasoned it with a lot of seasoning. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go out there, crank up the Hot Shot 360, melt our aluminum, and then we're going to check on Bubba. I'm sure you'll like that. Alright, so what we have here is a Hot Shot heat treat oven. It's not a foundry, it's not a metal melting thing. It is intended for heat treating metal, hardening metal, annealing metal, and it does a really good job of that, you know. But everybody knows me. I can't leave well enough alone because it gets well above the melting point of aluminum. I'm just too overly tempted to melt some aluminum in there, right? So we've got this brand new crucible, which I broke in the other day. I soaked it in with the right temperature sequence and everything, as learned from the internet. There's only about a dozen or 20 different ways of doing it, but I did it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put, I'll show you what I got here. This is from the range, old aluminum casings. A little piece of aluminum from the last time that I used it, and some scrap, mostly 9mm aluminum casings, which at this point have no further use in life than to be raw material for me to make some aluminum ingots. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn this guy on, and we're not going to enable the heat yet, but I'm going to go ahead and set the temperature, and so y'all don't see me fumbling and stumbling around with it, I'm going to do it off camera. Alright, we're ready and we're cranking up here. As you can see, the temperature's coming up. When I got this oven, I had this, and I laid it down and covered it up with another piece of paper, and then I have looked for it ever since until just the other day I found it. This is all the instructions you need here, but I didn't have them because I couldn't find it. That too is typical of me. I lose things all over. But I've got instructions for all kinds of things, including the Novus controller and all that. So we're going to go ahead and let that thing heat up, and we're going to melt down some old ammo, used up, spent stuff, and see if we can't make a nice little puddle of molten aluminum. Alright, so while that's heating up, I'll let you take a nap. This stuff right here is stainless steel foil for heat treating things. I didn't have this when I heat treated Chuck's, when I annealed his stuff the other day, so we got some scale from it, and I bought this. It was described in millimeters, and for us old Texas boys, envisioning how big something in millimeters is really deceptive. This will do for small things, but I'm going to have to order a bigger roll, obviously. Stan says don't turn this thing off and pop the door open with the heating element still hot, because it'll cool off too fast and it'll make it brittle, and then it'll break at some point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it turned on, and it's not going to cool off because it's going to try to be maintaining 1500 degrees. And I will clean the slag off of my stuff, and the level should have dropped way down in the crucible. And I'm going to throw a few more pieces in there and put it back in the oven. Does that sound reasonable to you guys? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be right there with the slag cleaning. That little spoon there with a wood handle, that's for pouring bullets. It's I don't know, a lead dipper. It's a lot of people make bullet molds that are 2-cavity. So you can cast 2 bullets at one time, and that'll hold just enough to do 2 bullets. I don't like that kind of mold. I like the 6-cavity jobs, where you got to pour it right out of the bottom of the melter. All right, so got my tongs, and I'm going to try to reach in there and pull that guy out. Oh, it's hot. Yes, it's hot. Okay, sit him down right there. Shove the door shut for a second. We're going to drop in some more stuff. I don't know how much slag is on there. And that is a little. Yeah, alright. This guy goes in. And that guy goes in. Okay. Now then, we're going to pick him up and we're going to put him right back in the oven, because I want to melt this other little bit of scrap in there along with it. Yes, sir. That's plenty of hot. It only cooled down to about 1350. I'll show you. So we're doing good. I will let that heat for a few minutes at 1500, and then I'm going to take it out of there and pour it into that soup can. I think it's a soup can. No, I think it's a corn can. I like cornbread, country hick, you know. I would say the chances are pretty darn good that stuff I added in there has melted. So let's open her up. This guy out. I'm just going to go ahead and just pour him in the can. Well, no. I'll do slag removal first. Alright, then you can see the pour in the can, I guess. There. Alright. Get the slag off of this. There's not much. Tiny little film. It's all shiny. Alright. Here we go. I was watching a guy's channel the other day, and he saves all of his slag and remelts it. Alright, I've turned off the heat. The door is shut, so it should cool down slowly without damaging my heating element, I hope. And my apologies to Stan for using this absolutely magnificent oven for something he never intended. Alright, let's sit down and wait for the aluminum to cool and see what we got. As you can see, I've turned off the control power, I've turned off the heat, but you can still hear the fan running in there, keeping the cabinet cool. I'd say that's well thought out. Well done, wouldn't you? Okay, so there we are. That's the little aluminum puck we just cast. Got a little dirty on the bottom from, I guess I didn't wash the can good enough. Got the little rings from the bottom. And of course, flakes coming off because I poured water on it. Alright, let's go see what Bubba or Boudreaux or somebody's doing. Well, it seems like Bubba and Cooter and Bobby Joe, they went to Athens, Georgia, and when they got down there, Bubba had a couple of blowouts on his pickup truck, so they was waiting for his welfare check, to come in so they could, get some new tires. And a big ball game come up in Atlanta, so they went down to the train station, to get a ticket up there. While they're there was these three young fellows from Boston. They drove down in their uncle's car, and he took it and went on to Florida and left them there, and they wanted to go to the ball game too. So they were there, and they bought 3 tickets, and they sat down and they watched Bubba go over and buy 1 ticket. And those, the 3 of them just sat down there, and the boys from Boston, he got kind of curious. He says, how do you fellas expect to get to Atlanta on 1 ticket? Bubba says, oh, y'all don't worry about that now. We got it all worked out. So they get on the train, and when they hear the conductor coming, well, Bubba and Cooter and, his buddy Bobby Joe, they all squeeze into the restroom. So the conductor comes along, and he collects the tickets from the Boston boys. And he comes to the restroom, knocks on the door, and one hand reaches out, hands him the ticket. He collects up the ticket and heads on. So they get to Atlanta, and go to the ball game. And going home, well, there they are. They're all 3 of them down there at the train station. Well, the Boston boys have already got it figured out. They know what to do about it, and they go up and they buy 1 ticket. And they go back to sit down and waiting, and Bubba don't buy any tickets at all. And the Boston boy says, well, how do y'all expect to get back to Athens without even 1 ticket? So it's don't y'all worry about it now. We got it all worked out. So they get on the train, there the conductor coming, the 3 Boston boys, they cram into the restroom, and Bubba and his 2 buddies cram into the other restroom. And in a couple of minutes, well, Bubba gets out of his restroom, goes over and knocks on the other door, says, tickets please. And he collects up the ticket from the Boston boys. Considering that, it just makes you wonder how it was that the South lost the Civil War. Oh well. Anyway, it don't sound fair at all, and I guess I got to go check on Daisy. I think she spotted a squirrel. Sounds like it to me.